Welcome to Confessions by Banana Ketchup. My life is forever changed. This happened tonight. My son's birthday is today. We are all currently quarantined due to be exposed to someone who has COVID. Since we had to cancel our plans, we decided to take a drive. We love just driving around in the country and hiking, and trees can spread corona. We went to an old church, MASONIC lodge. It's now not used at all. That is hometown famous for a big goat statue mounted on top of the steeple. The statue was a gift from someone in Dundee, Scotland. It's a very old place. No one was around, so my son and I decided to look around. We got to ring this huge brass bell by pulling a rope. My boyfriend and other son were far away from us in the empty parking lot. We left and they were amazed how loud the bell was. Anyway, we kept driving and exploring until it got dark. My oldest son said he wanted to stop at the graveyard and then go and ring the bell one more time. It's his birthday, so I said, "As you wish, my darling." We walked the graveyard, paid respect to extremely old graves, and even picked up trash. We always do this when hiking, exploring. Then just down the road, we went back to the goat church, Masonic lodge. We pulled in, again no one around. This area is very open. The wide yard you walk across to get to the building is clear of trees. The church is right by the busy highway, no sidewalk, steep stairs. My boyfriend and I decided to stay by the van to smoke a cigarette. I could see the black outlines of my two boys walking towards the front of the church. It's not super far, but it takes a minute to walk to the building due to the yard being quite mushy and kinda bumpy. Well, suddenly, out of nowhere, there were what looked like three more young men, teen boys, walking towards my kids and approaching them quickly, as though they knew my kids. Well, my first thought was, okay, I better get over there and make sure these boys ain't up to no good. But I also thought, where the hell did they come from? I immediately walked towards them to make sure all was well. I heard the bell ring. Then suddenly, one of the unknown silhouettes charged my oldest son, and as this happened, my boyfriend ran with his knife out yelling, "Hey!" at the people. He ran around the corner to approach the group. I was behind him, but not as fast. As I approached the steps, my boyfriend and my kids were starting to run to the car. There was no one there but my family, and I said, "Where are they?" They just replied, "Go, run! Go, mom, run!" I repeated, "Where are these people?" as I ran. They replied, "There are no people, go!" So we skedaddled back to the car. On our way home, we of course talked about this insane experience the whole time. We saw three people walk up to my kids, right next to them. It looked almost like they all had planned to meet there. They were walking as a group until one started running toward my son with the tent. But my boys never saw them. There was no one there. There is no way they couldn't have noticed them and nowhere for them to hide after. It's all very open there, so no hiding spots. The boys also described how when they reached the steps it felt like a dream, got nervous, and they quickly rang the bell before my boyfriend got to them. They both rang the bell. This brass bell is old and loud. It can be heard far and wide. Both boys rang it. I only heard it once, and I saw three people disappeared. My boyfriend and youngest son felt nervous and negative and scared the whole way home. My oldest, birthday boy, and I were excited and felt no malignancy whatsoever. My oldest and I have always loved all things paranormal, but tonight removed that little piece of doubt in the back of my mind. Never thought something like that would happen, not just to me, but my whole family. We prayed for protection on the way home and got home safe and sound. You never know, you guys. Anything can happen. I'm open to any and all theories on this, both supernatural or pragmatic. I went through every scenario possible, but it does not add up. Thanks for reading and stay healthy. Thank you, gonzoisgood, the author. I'm still scratching my head. Thoughts? Hey y'all, I've been a lurker on Reddit in general for a while, and this is my first post, so forgive me if it's a bit choppy. I live in a good old northeastern Maryland, closer to Delaware, and during the time of this story, I lived in a fairly new development. My family was the first family that lived in the house. In fact, we owned the house if it was even built. That is still surrounded by forest and farmland. I also explored the area by myself, sometimes traveling miles to different areas of woods. The forests weren't too thick, but they were thick enough where you could be fully encased in them without seeing the edges for a while. I've got lots of fun stories, but let's get into this one. This happened years ago, and I had made peace with the event as perhaps being some sort of time anomaly, where it was somehow proved the past, present and future are all stacked on top of each other. I forgot the terminology, but that's not really important to the story. I was home with only my mother in the house with me. We've had several strange paranormal experiences between the two of us, in and outside of the house and around the development, but nothing like this. We were both upstairs, and the layout of the upstairs floor plan had my parents' room on one side of the house and mine was on the opposite side. Between us was a large foyer that had steps to downstairs with a tall ceiling connecting the first and second floor and a large bay window. It was midday on a weekend. I was high school age and playing on my phone in my bedroom while my mom was in her adjoining bathroom taking a shower in her room. It was quiet enough that I remember nothing how eerie it was. Out of the dead silence, I heard my voice clearly calling Mom in some sort of irritated tone coming directly from the bottom of the steps in the foyer. I remember thinking that I was hearing things, but then my mom responded, "What?" in that "I'm in the shower, why can't you kids leave me alone for 2 seconds of peace" tone. I shut up and Spad walked out of my room, hesitating to cross past the foyer, afraid of what I will see standing at the base of the steps. I said screw it and ran across, glancing down the stairs. Nothing. There was nothing. I ran into the bathroom with my mom and all I could say was, "That wasn't me." "What?" she replied. "That wasn't me." She believed me, having experienced several strange things in the house as well. Most notable, the woman that would walk into my sister's room every once in a while. She usually would only show up in your peripheral, but once I saw her head on. But that's another story. Anyway, we still talk about it today and theorize what it could have been. I feel the land is haunted in general in that area. I still have so many questions. Could this have been a cryptid? Specifically a mimic? But is it even possible that they mimic the voice of a person within the area? It's been a good 4 or 5 years since this happened and I still can't put my finger on it. Any thoughts? Thank you for reading. Update. Thank you all so much for sharing your experiences. I love reading them all, so if you are feeling hesitant, please feel free to share. Thank you, lanrakatheriue, the author. Female 25. Advice or thoughts on what could be going on in my house? I have lived in the same house since I was a toddler. I have experienced some things I personally thought could be paranormal. The house is now 100 years old. The couple who built the house I know nothing about other than the wife passed away inside and my father did as well. Before my father passing 2 years ago, I would hear some weird noises and what happened to me twice was the feeling of someone sitting on my bedside and also at the end of my bed. When this happened, I would pull the covers over my head and ignore it. The night my father passed, my mother and I were leaving the hospital. A pure evil presence came over the both of us, more so my mom. We were in the city and not a good part of it, and I took her on a shortcut to get to the car. She was yelling at me the whole time, saying we were going to be hurt or killed and we needed to turn around. I told her everything was fine and that I will keep her safe and drive us home. We did not exchange one word until we took an exit on the highway and the feeling of hopelessness and evil vanished. I never experienced any of that again. I joined the military a few months after all of that and left home for 9 months. I got back and things now have been making me feel uncomfortable in my house. The past couple months since being home, I have been seeing dark shadows moving quickly out of the corner of my eye. There is always this sense that I'm being watched. My dog will look in a certain direction and bark as if someone was there and it's nothing. And of course, hearing strange things here and there. One day, my mom had brought home holy water and exorcism salt to put on each door in the house. My mother is extremely religious, and so am I, but not a constant churchgoer. When I read the directions that came with the salt, I immediately felt something staring at me and my eyes darted to the living room. A few weeks later, I came home from the gym and went to shower. I heard an iPhone text message ping go off once, and that was enough to scare the ever-living hell out of me. I couldn't tell if it was my mom's bedroom or downstairs. All I could think was, did someone break in? I checked everything, TV, radio, make sure my mom didn't leave her phone home. She has an Android. I checked my old iPhones, which were dead, and my phone was in my hand the whole time. There was nothing that could have made that noise, and I checked every room in my house, and the doors were already locked. My dog would have went crazy if there was someone in my house, and I would have heard them. It's not a big house, and it's old, everything creaks. Come last night, I was telling my mom how I stumbled across this YouTube documentary about the dark web, and how sick and twisted it is, and how I thought it should be down. I also went on to tell her about the story with the iPhone ping, and how it freaked me out. I went to bed shortly after we talked and was scrolling through social media, and I finally put the phone down, said a few prayers, specifically asking for the dark web to vanish. My room was freezing cold and all of a sudden got really hot. I opened my eyes and saw this red beam of light, kind of like an orb, but it was bright like an LED Christmas tree light. It moved quickly and faded into nothing. I looked into the corner of my bedroom door and the wall and saw this shadow darker than my room, and I could make out very pale white spots, which I assumed was a face. I was being watched, and whatever was there was trying to scare me out of my room. I told it to go away, and this feeling came over me that made me scream out to my mom. She thought all of this was because of what I was watching earlier about the dark web. I like creepy skit and love horror movies and just about anything that will give me the chills, and I never have nightmares, but this did me in. This was evil. Thank you, OHlivEhah, the author. Thank you for watching, everyone. If you already haven't, subscribe to this channel so you don't miss any new episodes. See you again soon, and until then, please be safe.